Prior to that, he was Chief Operating Officer, and he obviously started as the first employee of NPCI. Dilip has obviously been there from the very first day and has played an instrumental role in everything that NPCI has done together with his team, whether it's IMPS, whether it's AEPS, whether it's RuPay, which we'll talk about, as well as obviously the platform that all of us use many times a day, which is UPI. Dilip has been awarded by pretty much every single publication, Change Maker of the Year, or various variations of that, and I think it's very well deserved. So, Dilip, I think the only thing we are now waiting for is Time Person of the Year. And I'm going to say the one metric that the NPCI team, who are all here, you'll have to hit for Dilip to be the Time Person of the Year. So, Dilip, thank you for doing this. All right, Dilip, let's start. I want to rewind the clock, Dilip. Tell us about how did NPCI start, and tell us a little bit about the early days of NPCI.
So the early days of NPCI, the RBI started NPCI. So virtually everybody used to call us RBI only, right, from the industry ecosystem. And the way I look back, I see the NPCI in three phases. The first phase of NPCI, we were pretty much starting up and building up an organization. Mr. Hota was there. He joined from RBI, and again a great leader. He kind of helped us to. I think Mr. Hota gave NPCI two things. One is this whole innovation DNA, right? I think IMPS. I still remember, when we started IMPS, only NPCI employees were used to do. So we did cut the cake for first 1,000 transactions.
And all done by NPCI employees.
Yeah, employees. We cut the cake for 10,000 transactions. So, but I think
Actually, most Indian fintech companies, even 1 million transactions, I think only their employees do. They just keep doing that.
So I think the first phase was the innovation DNA, and the innovation DNA survived, right, for long term. And then the operational excellence, right? Mr. Hota used to always say that we are a customer service organization, and the customer is most important thing. So while NPCI, even if it's a quasi-regulator institution, we always remain a customer focused, right? So I think that is the first phase of NPCI. And I could also say that NPCI was more like a buyer of the technology, right? We used to buy stuff.
So you would leverage other people's technology to build payment systems.
Stuff. In the second phase of NPCI, I think our collaboration with the government, RBI, to build up the public good infrastructure, right, was started. The Aadhaar enabled payment system, the DBT system, the PMJDY accounts, and slowly RuPay cards, UPI was started building up. And we also converted ourselves as a builder of the technology, right? So we started building our own technology with the development partners. There are many partners which we use, predominantly the Indian companies. But we are able to build. I think most of the companies used to come back and say that, no, you can't build this. You can't build unless you have a licensed software. How can you build such a large-scale software? And today, UPI, fully open source, built on fully open source technology, open architecture, does about 10 billion APIs on a daily basis. 10 billion APIs on a
10 billion API calls
every
a day.
day.
Fully open source. 100% Indian.
100% Indian.
Incredible.
And now we are looking at NPCI 3.0, and what we are saying is, while most of the platforms we run, own, and built up by us and our partners, now we want to become a contributor to the open source. I think that's a vision which we have taken. So one day we want to say that, most of the platforms, softwares which we are building will be available in the open source format.
That's incredible. That's incredible. All right. Thank you for walking us through the 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. So Dilip, today NPCI has become an extraordinary inventor, but also scaler of financial technologies, right? At a scale the world hasn't seen. Congratulations, NPCI crossed 10 billion transactions a month very recently. So, it's a scale that we haven't seen. So you're innovating at a pace that we rarely see. You're executing at a scale we haven't seen before. But at the end of the day, it's amazing. Like, NPCI is not a startup in a classic sense. You don't have a lot of people. So what is it that gets this culture of extraordinary innovation? So talk to us a little bit about, because, we have lots of, how many startup founders in the hall? Let's maybe raise your hands. Yeah, about 10% of the folks in the hall. Like, tell us a little bit about how do you create that kind of culture?
See, I think when you are competing with giants like Visa, MasterCard, and technically, when we looked at, when we started up, obviously we all of us started our careers, working on the payment system which came from West, right? So, and that's where NPCI ethos was. I think now the time has come, India's time has come that, now the payment system has to move from East to West, right? And I think pretty much you would see that it's happening. I believe that, we didn't have a choice. We didn't have a choice but to innovate when we are competing with such a large players. The second thing which I see is, Rajan, I think from the beginning, I think NPCI has learned to take people together, right? I'm saying we are an ecosystem player, we are the ecosystem builder, and to the extent possible, we like to take people along with us, even when there are conflicting interests, right? I think that's most important because, we have steering committees where banks, fintech industry bodies sits together, fight out, but we kind of get to the consensus level. I think that's where I strongly believe that NPCI believes in the ecosystem and their importance, their value creation back to us. The third part is, I think, we all believe in NPCI that we are part of this India growth story, right? We are part of this nation building. So as India is growing, as India is doing better and better, at least as far as the digital systems are concerned, I think we can see the impact on the ground. So I believe that this whole purpose gets connected to all of us. And when you have a purpose with you, right, all the challenges, hurdles actually becomes the opportunities, right? So that's the way, we have been looking at and trying to deliver things what ecosystem wants. And finally, we have, it's not that we have done everything perfect, but I think we have learned one thing, right? A lot of people can think ideas, but I think the execution is the IP. Right?
It's all about the execution.
Right? So even when there is a noise, I think NPCI has learned hard way to remain focused. I will tell you, some of the things we review daily. So there is a daily call. I attend, Pravina attends.
I think there are a bunch of Googlers here, remember?
Daily call.
Daily calls. I used to do these daily calls.
You will not believe some of the calls are running for over 14 months, 16 months. We don't miss. 16
Awesome.
months daily call.
Daily calls. Very good. Okay. Now moving to UPI. NPCI is best known, I think, at large for UPI. In 2015, India was not on the map when it came to digital payments. Okay, if you went around the world and said, name the top 100 countries on digital payments, India was not on the top 100 list. Today, India is by far the number one, especially when it comes to real-time digital payments. Dilip, tell us about of course, it was not always the case. You launched in 2016 or 17. But tell us the 3 or 4 things that made UPI adoption at scale possible, because as India continues to deploy the India stack, ONDC and everything else that's going to come after that, what are those 3 or 4 things that really made UPI what it is today?
And Rajan, this question gets asked number of places, and my answer has been evolving on this, right? Earlier, when this question was asked, I should say that no, this UPI is a great architecture, right? I'm just saying it just gives a great experience. We made payment simpler, variety of answers as to give. But I think I've settled down on 3 or 4 things now. After so much of thinking, reflection on this particular point, I think first point is this whole digital financial services as an objective kept by RBI and the government. I think if that wouldn't have been there, I do not believe that where UPI is, UPI would have come there. Because if you look at every monetary policy, the RBI announces the UPI innovations, the payment system innovations. Every government discussions, important meetings, the payment system, because it's close to the Prime Minister's heart, everybody in the government gives the importance. But the whole vision of this digital financial services by the regulators and by the government, I think is the number one reason why, what is UPI
So
today.
Like the government mandate, the regulators mandate.
The government and the RBI's vision, I would say. I don't think it's mandated. Today also there are many...
Vision, okay, that's a good point.
Vision. The second point which I feel is this whole diverse ecosystem, right? I'm saying when we started UPI, everybody was like plus minus, chalega, nahi chalega, kya karne ka isme, and but I think first 1 or 2 years we saw some of the great participation by the fintechs. You were there. You were then Google
I was at
MD.
Google. Yes,
Google
yes,
MD,
yes.
and
Google Pay.
Google Pay came out of
GPay.
GPay came. No, pehle
It was called Tez. Launch name was Tez.
So I think this whole PhonePe, Paytm, Tez, from a fintech standpoint, created such a revolution on the ground. I think you guys opened up such a big access, right? Whether it's a merchant or consumers. I think this is the second biggest success factor of UPI. And the third is we kept UPI evolving, right? So when you start, and I keep thinking about this, that what UPI was launched in 2016 is not the same UPI anymore, right? Whether it's a technology, whether it's a APIs, whether it's a feature, whether it's a consumer experience, it kept evolving, and it is still evolving, right? I think this continuous progress is helping UPI to grow. New use cases, and you would see some of the things we are trying to launch in GFF as well. So I think these are the 3 top reasons which I would believe.
Got it. No, I think that's terrific. So basically a vision and a mission, right, that sort of centered, comes from the very top, the regulator, government, an open innovation ecosystem, and as you say, constant evolution. And I think the third one, Dilip, because in many ways, you're an NPCI as an entity gets faster every day. I mean, it's kind of, funny, right? Like usually large, organizations, as they grow, they get slower. But you guys just keep getting faster. So I think this notion of constant innovation is great. All right, instead of taking questions at the end, Dilip wants to try something new. We're going to take questions as we go. So let's get the mics ready. And if you have a question, please put your hand up. We're going to take the first question. Okay, there's a mic over here, please. Are there any mics? Let's get a mic over here. Over here. Please stand up, lady in red. Just tell us who you are, where you're from, and keep the question very short. This is not the time to pitch Dilip your ideas, okay? Just question, keep it short. Let's get a mic over here. It's not on. Can you switch on the mic, please?
Hello, sir. This is Mehka here from IIFL. I manage the fintech fund at IIFL and, been investing in fintech startups. One thing that I wanted to understand from you, what do you think would be the next big wave from UPI? And you've, come out with UPI 123 Pay. So today, feature phone users, which are like the tier 2 users, still don't use the UPI. They don't have a UPI handle because, they worry about scanning that QR code, data security. They still don't want to link their bank accounts. Where do you think the next wave will come where these guys will start using UPI?
So can this question wait for 24 hours?
24 hours.
Yes, just 24 hours.
Well, what's happening in 24 hours?
Just 24 hours.
You're
Dilip,
going
just
to
tell the
launch
audience.
I will answer this question tomorrow evening. Okay?
Then you're going to launch
Yeah.
the 123 missed call pay?
So you just wait for 24 hours. Just 24 hours.
Okay,
We'll
there
catch
we
up
go.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay? Thank
So
you.
tomorrow you have a big launch, right? Couple of launches.
Yeah.
They always launch something big at GFF.
Yeah.
So tomorrow,
So tomorrow evening.
What time?
Ready.
What time?
So 4 to 6.
4 to 6. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, now let's keep going. By the way, interesting data point for all of you. As I just said, UPI crossed 10 billion transactions a month. So Dilip, globally, okay, I'm not talking about India. Globally, MasterCard is now at 11.8 billion transactions a month. This is credit and debit put together. And Visa is at 22.5 billion transactions a month, okay? UPI, only India, 10 billion, 7 years after existence. MasterCard and Visa, MasterCard at 12. No, wait. Not clap yet. So, Dilip, the question I have is, when does UPI get more transactions a month than MasterCard globally? I know you can't give a date, so I'm going to say 12 months, 24 months.
See, Okay.
Dilip, come on, Dilip, your whole team is here, no?
So,
this is the mission.
No, I think, Rajan, I would like to divert this question to a little bit
Yeah,
differently,
go ahead.
right? So I think right now, today the UPI is used by 350 million people. I think our objective is UPI to be used by every Indian, right? And I think the lady asked very important question that when does the feature phone people start using it? And so I think we have a 3x opportunity on the user side. We have a 3x opportunity on the merchant side. And if you take a combined effect, we have a 10x opportunity from where we stand, right? So if we grow 10x from here, you can compare the numbers.
That's 100 billion.
You can compare the numbers which you just quoted.
A month.
You can just compare the numbers which
All
you
right,
quoted.
there we go. You heard it right here. UPI, 100 billion transactions a month. Coming soon. Just to keep in mind, at 100 billion, Visa, which has been around for like a really long time, is only at 22.5 billion globally, and MasterCard at 11.8 billion. Okay.
This is India effect, actually.
Yeah, this is the India effect. Okay. Dilip, I want to talk a little bit about some of the exciting new initiatives that have already been launched. I know tomorrow you're announcing a bunch of, tomorrow at 4 p.m. you're announcing a bunch of things. Let's talk about credit cards on UPI. So this is UPay credit cards on UPI. Where are we today with this? And where do you think we'll be 6 or 7 years from now? What are the goals you've set for your team?
So, we don't set the goals in terms of ki itna karna hai, utna nahi karna hai. I think what we are trying to look at is what is the India landscape and where we should reach, right?
India only has 35 to 40 million credit card holders
That's
today,
what I'm saying.
Right?
So I personally think that with UPI, RuPay credit cards on UPI, there are 2-3 things we look at. One is what is the total addressable market? I think in my assessment, today the credit card underwriting cost and the what you call it as a open credit line makes it little difficult to and acquisition cost makes it very difficult to go back to everybody, right? I think with the pure digital avatar of the credit cards, I strongly believe that there is an opportunity to grow this market to 10x, right? Obviously, that definitely does not mean that we underwrite everybody for 1 lakh rupees or 50,000 rupees what we do today. I'm saying a sachetization of the credit is going to come in. Credit as a service going to come in, right? So I believe that if there is a 10x market, what are we doing to get that 10x market? So we are working very closely with all the large lenders like HDFC, ICICI, Axis, SBI Card, the public sector banks. So we are now looking at a complete digital onboarding journey. So HDFC has launched it. ICICI has launched it. We are working very closely with the other lenders to launch it. So what happens is, your acquisition cost, your onboarding cost, your underwriting cost becomes very, very minimal. Near zero, you can see that. And because the credit, the customer is real-time connected, you can make it contextual, right? Today, the open credit line versus contextual credit line is a huge difference. Huge difference. So we believe that, I think the 10x market is possible, but we need vehicles to drive that growth. We need a fully digital experience platforms by the banks to drive the growth what we are looking at.
Got it. So you heard it here. There are 35 million credit card holders in India, and there will be 300 million RuPay on UPI credit card holders. In a time,
that's a 10x market available.
I put 10x. Okay,
yeah.
Let's now shift gears. Cross-border payments. Tell us a little bit about Bharat Bill Pay. What are we seeing so far on cross-border payments? This morning, Honorable Finance Minister mentioned $20 trillion. So tell us a little bit about Bharat Bill Pay.
So I think, okay, let me talk about 2 things. One is the remittance, because NPCI recently started 2 subsidiaries, which is NPCI International, which does the cross-border transactions, and NPCI Bharat Bill Pay, which does the bill payment as an interoperable. So today, the way, Rajan, the way I look at it is we are in the plumbing stage, right? In terms of the cross-border pipes, right? Because of course, Visa, MasterCard has been here for last 50, 70 years, 50 years at least. And they have laid down these networks, right, in 50 years' time. So I think the objective is now that while India-Singapore pipe exists, India-UAE pipe exists to some extent, India to the SAARC countries pipes are getting built.
So Singapore, India is now fully operational?
Fully operational. The limit is right now only 1,000 Sing dollars, but we are working with both side regulators to raise the limit to 5 to 10,000 Sing dollars. But it's fully real time. Fully
Wow,
real
that's
time.
amazing.
15 seconds you can debit the Singapore bank account and credit the Indian
So
bank
you can
account.
debit the Singapore bank account from here?
No. From there, yeah.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is the whole experience is getting redefined, right? So, but what we require is this pipes, and that's the hard part. Because it needs a regulatory collaboration, it needs a lot of efforts from both the regulators, the payment system operators like NPCI, the PayNow in Singapore. So I think this, while the RTP systems keeps coming up, I think this plumbing has to happen. And I think it will take time, Rajan. It will take time. There is no shortcut to this. I think next 5 years, 7 years. But I'm very hopeful that we will see a lot of pipes getting built. Because India is very clear that, the way we are self-sufficient on the domestic payments, we want to be self-sufficient on the cross-border payments as well.
It's funny that PayPal has a 7% take rate on global payments. They haven't seen anything yet. Made in India, come into the world. Okay, all right, let's keep going. I want to now move to credit, Dilip. India has a $1 trillion credit gap for consumers, a $1 trillion credit gap in SMEs. I'm not talking about NPCI, but talk a little bit about how do you see the credit landscape changing in India over the next 5 to 7 years?
I think there is one area which has a, I don't know, I think 1000x potential. 1000x potential is great. We are a digital, more or less like a digital society now, 350 million people doing UPI transactions. They already have the history. They have a data. So I believe the opportunity exists. Now the question is, how do we leverage on that opportunity in a very responsible way, right? Today with the RuPay credit cards on UPI or the RBI, yesterday RBI released a circular on credit line on UPI. There is an opportunity to make a credit real time, right? So what it means real time, which means that the step up is possible now. So you don't need to underwrite somebody right in the beginning. You can look at the way his payback kind of behavior and keep on stepping up his credit limit. I spoke about contextual. So today, instead of giving a line, can I go back to the shop? Can I scan a QR code and apply for the loan then and there and get that loan only for which is a purpose specific of buying that particular thing? It's possible now with UPI. And the third part is when you look at the credit, today the services layer, right, is missing. I think within NPCI we are thinking on how do we really build this services layer to empower the customer. So whether it's a recurring payments, whether it's a mandate management, whether it's a bill payment, we are trying to build this whole services layer so that we empower customer and make him very kind of a customer friendly to use and keep taking more and more credit when he needs and not just use it or not just take it in advance.
Got it. So basically what you're saying is we're going to transform the credit infrastructure so that you can issue contextual, much smaller loans, on tap, etc. Right? Very terrific. Let's take a question. There's a hand over there. Let's get a mic over to that. She's in a blue jacket. Is there a mic? Can we get quickly a mic over here? No, over here. Not over there, over here. Over here, right at the end here, on my right. We probably should have told our organizing team to have 2 mics, but please name where you're from and question, and please keep it brief.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rajan, Dilip. So good to hear about the number of transactions that are happening. By the way, my name is Ritu Maurya. I'm the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur magazine. And I remember writing the first story back in 2015 when you had actually set up NPCI myself. And today we've come down to a $10 billion transactions, and that's absolutely wonderful. Now my question is that, you're talking about taking UPI outside India. But are you also planning to take all the services that you are adding, which is either SME credit or recurring payments or everything, as well internationally? And do you think at some point of time it's going to get into conflict with the businesses out there? And how is that going to be managed at that point of time?
So today, okay, look, we are, and maybe we should have a separate chat with NPCI International CEO. But what we are looking at, there are two things which we are doing as far as the globalization is concerned. One is, supplying them the stack, right? So payment stack, what we have built up, whether it's RuPay, UPI or whatever we have, whether the countries can use it for their self-sufficiency, right? So that's the first part what we do. The second part what we are interested is in the cross-border transactions, right? How the country builds up the domestic payment ecosystem is up to the regulator and the government out there. So we are not playing a role, but obviously it provides a huge opportunities. You heard FM also talking about it. The globalization of the Indian DPIs provides a huge opportunity for the fintechs in India for their globalization. So we are only a centralized platform and we would limit our work on the centralized platforms. Okay? Thank you.
All right, terrific. Okay, Dilip, let's now go broader. We've spoken about payments, about credit. But look, the reality is in every aspect of financial services, with the exception of bank accounts, where every Indian has a bank account, we've talked about payments. What do we need to do across all of financial services, right? If you look at insurance, if you look at wealth and just every aspect of financial services, to have the same revolution that we've had in payments in India?
So I think it started, Rajna. I think that, whether it's insurance, the financial services, I think the payment is like a kind of a infrastructure layer, right, for this financial services to grow. So whether it's a credit, whether it's investments, whether it's insurance, in my assessment, right, now the earlier denominator was 50 million. Now we are looking at a denominator as 350 million, right? And as UPI and digital financial services grow, the denominator will keep growing. So I think that's
So you're viewing this as the underlying rate on
so
which you can offer.
You can keep offering, and I
wealth,
think that's
insurance,
credit, right? So I think and you would see that many fintechs now, and that's where we see a phenomenal growth in the fintechs applying for the UPI TPAP licenses, right? Because what they understand is, whatever they want to do on the financial services, they need the underlying payment layer. If without that, offering the services, keeping the customer engaged is very difficult. So, and that's very evident when, we have given some of the licenses to the large merchants, the large NBFCs, they all wanting to become TPAP.
Got it. All right, two last questions. I know we are almost at time. So Dilip, you have 10% of the room are startup founders. If Dilip Asbe was going to start up today, don't worry, NPCI team is not going anywhere. We've just set some goals. We're going to get to 100 billion transactions a month. But if you were to start up, Dilip, what company would you launch?
So that's it.
And by the way, I hope you come to Peak 15. Huh? My partner Ishan is here. So please don't go to anybody else.
So I think, I strongly believe that, the expertise and my personal expertise is in building the large scale platform, execution, innovation. So whatever actually, whatever I do, I think it may be associated with this three attributes, and it could be payments, it could be financial services, it could be social media, whatever it could be. But it has to have a scale, it has to have an innovation, and it has to have a large scale execution.
Got it. Okay, and please remember us when you do start up, Dilip. All right, last question. Dilip, now let's, the topic of the chat today is 2030. We've already set some very big, ambitious BHAG goals. Let's fast forward to 2030. It's only 7 years away. 2030 is only 7 years away. I would love for you to paint a picture of what the financial services landscape in India, Dilip, would look like in 2030. And if you could get as specific, I know it's hard because you can't in this forum do that, but get as specific. What could India's financial services landscape look like by 2030?
So I think we should be for sure a couple of billion transactions a day, payments. I think on the credit side, we should see at least, with a lot of fintechs getting involved, I think 10x growth on the users on the credit side is not very ambitious in my
You're talking about credit cards or just in general credit?
credit, because
Just credit.
credit card is one of the factors.
right, one of the- one of
one
these.
of the factors. So I think the 10x growth in credit is feasible. I may say that 7 years time is a reasonable time to look at that. The third thing is, I believe that at least 50% of the top 30 markets, we would have pipe in place. In my
50% of the top
30 countries, we will have
the pipes in place.
right, for the cross-border
That would be
transaction.
remarkable. The
I think so.
single biggest technology export of India.
And the way I think the RBI and the government is driving it, I think it's possible. And the fourth, I believe the asset tokenization will come in digital financial services. So you would see the securities, the mutual funds, or some of the financial assets getting tokenized. And you create, and getting the DeFi ecosystem started. And we already have the CBDC as a payment currency. So I think that's definitely by 2030, I see a emergence of asset tokenization in a big way.
All right, there you go. You heard it right here at Global FinTech Festival 2023. Thank you, Dilip, for your time. Let's give Dilip Basbe and his NPCI team a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asbe and Mr. Anandan, for that exceedingly compelling round of conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we would also like to acknowledge our partners, beginning with co-powered by partner Google Pay, co-powered by Amazon Pay, brought to you by partner HDFC Bank.
Business Today TV got a taste of the